For more than 100 years, a single grave in the ancient Viking town of Birka, Sweden, stood as the ultimate symbol of what it meant to be a Viking warrior. Perched on a windswept hill, surrounded by hundreds of other burials, this particular grave was singled out by archaeologists and historians alike. It was seen as the definitive example of a male warrior's final resting place, a story that would shape our understanding of Viking society for generations. The grave, known as BJ 581, was packed with an impressive array of weapons and military equipment, swords, axes, shields, and even 2 horses. To those who first uncovered it in the late 19th century, these grave goods were unmistakable signs of a powerful man's life, status, and achievements on the battlefield. Museums displayed these artifacts with pride, textbooks printed illustrations of the grave, and scholars cited it as the ultimate proof that Viking society was dominated by men, especially when it came to warfare and leadership. The image of the male Viking warrior became deeply embedded in our collective imagination. The assumption was so deeply rooted that it shaped the way archaeologists interpreted every Viking grave they found. If a burial contained weapons, it was labeled as male. If it contained jewelry or household items, it was assumed to belong to a woman. This binary thinking left little room for doubt or alternative interpretations. The story fit perfectly with the legendary sagas, which told of fierce male warriors raiding and exploring distant lands. It also matched the expectations of the time, when gender roles were seen as fixed and unchangeable. The Birka grave became a touchstone for both academic research and popular culture. For decades, the image of the Birka warrior was everywhere, bearded, battle-hardened, and unmistakably male. Statues, paintings, and even children's toys reinforced this archetype, making it almost impossible to imagine anything different. Few people ever questioned the story. The grave goods seemed to say it all, and the bones themselves were rarely examined in detail. The idea that the objects in a grave could tell us everything about the person buried there went unchallenged for generations. But history is rarely so straightforward. The past is full of surprises, and the stories we tell about it often reveal more about ourselves than about the people who lived long ago. The silent skeleton in grave BJ 581 was about to challenge everything we thought we knew about the Vikings. Hidden beneath centuries of assumptions, it held a secret that would force us to rethink not just one grave, but the very nature of Viking society itself. In the summer of 1878, a team of archaeologists gathered on the windswept island of Birka, Sweden, to open a grave that would soon become legendary, BJ 581. As they brushed away centuries of earth, they had no idea they were about to uncover one of the most extraordinary Viking burials ever found. What they discovered inside was nothing short of astonishing, a burial chamber so lavish, so meticulously arranged, that it immediately signaled the resting place of someone of immense importance. This was not just any grave, it was a tomb fit for a warlord, a person whose power and influence must have stretched far and wide across the Viking world. The skeleton lay surrounded by an impressive arsenal, a gleaming sword, a heavy axe, a spear, a quiver of arrows, 2 sturdy shields, and several knives. These were not mere tokens, but the tools of a seasoned commander, each weapon a symbol of authority, skill, and readiness for battle. The arrangement suggested a life spent leading warriors, making decisions on the field, and earning respect through strength and strategy. Resting in the lap of the skeleton was a set of gaming pieces, likely used for tactical planning or strategy games. These objects hinted at a mind as sharp as any blade, a leader who valued cunning and intellect as much as brute force. In the Viking world, such gaming pieces were often associated with high-ranking individuals. Those who commanded not just with weapons, but with wisdom. Perhaps most striking of all, 2 horses, a mare and a stallion, had been sacrificed and laid to rest beside the warrior. This was a rare and powerful symbol, reserved only for the elite. Horses were invaluable in Viking society, and to be buried with not 1, but 2, spoke of a status few could ever hope to achieve. It was a final journey befitting a person of legendary stature. Every artifact, every detail of the grave pointed unmistakably to a high-ranking military leader, someone who had commanded loyalty, inspired fear, and shaped the destiny of their people. The grave goods included luxury items and prestigious objects, further reinforcing the impression of immense power and influence. For more than a century, historians, archaeologists, and the public alike celebrated this grave as the ultimate example of a male, Viking, chieftain's burial. It became a touchstone for our understanding of Viking leadership, warfare, and society. The evidence seemed overwhelming. Surely only a man could be honored with such a burial. The weapons, the horses, the gaming pieces all pointed to a life of command and conquest, reinforcing the image of the Viking world as a realm ruled by powerful men. Over time, the grave of BJ 581 became the very standard by which Viking masculinity was measured. It shaped museum exhibits, inspired countless books and documentaries, and influenced how generations imagined the archetypal Viking warrior. For decades, no one thought to question this narrative. The story seemed complete, until, at last, someone dared to look closer, and everything we thought we knew was thrown into doubt. Decades later, osteologist Anna Kjellström examined the bones from BJ 581 and noticed something odd. The skeleton's features, slender cheekbones, a rounded pelvis, were distinctly female. Her findings challenged a century of assumptions. The archaeological community pushed back, insisting the grave goods prove the occupant was male. Many suggested a mix-up or error, refusing to believe a woman could be buried as a warrior. But Kjellström stood by her analysis, arguing that the bones, not the artifacts, should define the person. Her persistence planted a seed of doubt. The debate grew heated, dividing scholars. The only way to settle it was with science. Ancient DNA would soon provide the answer. In 2017, a team led by Charlotte Hedenstierna Janssen extracted DNA from the Birka skeleton. Their goal: determine the biological sex, once and for all. The results were clear: 2 X chromosomes, no Y. The legendary Birka warrior was female. The news sent shockwaves through archaeology and beyond. Generations of bias had blinded experts to the truth. The DNA vindicated Kjellström's work and forced a re-examination of Viking graves everywhere. The Birka warrior woman was no longer a theory. She was a scientific fact. Her existence shattered the old narrative. Suddenly, the Viking world looked far more complex. The myth of the male-only warrior was gone. A new chapter in history had begun. As the Birka revelation echoed, another grave in Solør, Norway, added weight to the story. Archaeologists found a skeleton buried with a full arsenal: sword, spear, axe, arrows. The skull bore a healed sword wound, direct evidence of battle. This was no symbolic burial. This woman had fought and survived. DNA confirmed the Solør warrior was female. She was not an anomaly, but part of a pattern. The evidence was undeniable. Female warriors were real. The old male-centric view of Viking history was crumbling. The Solør warrior's story didn't end with her bones. Her grave, discovered in the quiet fields of Norway, sparked a journey that would span centuries and disciplines. For years, her remains were a puzzle, an enigma that challenged our understanding of Viking society and the roles women played within it. In 2025, Dr. Caroline Erlin's team at the University of Dundee took on the challenge of bringing her back to life, at least in appearance. Using cutting-edge forensic technology, they set out to reconstruct her face, hoping to reveal not just what she looked like, but who she might have been. The process began with a meticulous 3D scan of her skull, capturing every ridge and contour. Layer by layer, the team built up muscle tissue and skin, guided by anatomical science and artistic intuition. They even included the scar from her battle wound, a silent testament to the life she led and the violence she survived. The result was striking. A young woman with strong, resolute features, and a gaze that seemed to hold stories of courage and resilience. Her face was not just a scientific achievement, but a window into a world long gone. For the first time, museum visitors could look into the eyes of a real Viking Shield-Maiden. She was no myth, she was real, and her face made her story immediate, personal, and unforgettable. The image quickly became iconic, capturing imaginations around the world and symbolizing a new understanding of Viking women as warriors, leaders, and individuals with their own stories. No longer just a skeleton in a display case, she was transformed into a person who had lived, fought, and survived in a harsh and unforgiving world. The reconstruction gave her back her humanity. The project bridged 1,000 years, making the distant past tangible and relatable. Visitors could see themselves reflected in her features, connecting across time through shared humanity. The Shield-Maiden was no longer just a legend or a name in a saga. She became a symbol of strength, endurance, and the enduring power of history to surprise us. Now, as we stand before her, she is history, staring back at us, reminding us that the past is never as distant as it seems. For centuries, Shield-Maidens were dismissed as myth, characters from sagas, not real life. The discoveries at Burka and Solør changed everything. DNA evidence proved women were buried as warriors, just as the sagas described. Suddenly, the line between legend and history blurred. Archaeologists began re-examining old graves, questioning gender assumptions based on grave goods. More female warrior graves emerged across Scandinavia. What was once fantasy became fact. The sagas once doubted now offered clues to real history. The myth of the Shield-Maiden had become reality. The confirmation of female warriors forces us to rethink Viking society. The old model, men as warriors, women at home, was too simple. The Burka and Solør women showed that status and skill could transcend gender. Some women held power, property, and even led in battle. Viking society was more fluid than we imagined. Warrior graves for women were rare, but their existence is revolutionary. It challenges us to move beyond binaries and see a spectrum of roles. As archaeologist Marianne Moen says, a woman with a sword should be interpreted the same as a man with a sword. Viking women could be mothers, farmers, leaders, and sometimes, warriors. The past was more diverse than we ever thought. The stories of the Burka and Solør warriors have opened a new era of Viking research. Old evidence is being re-examined, new questions are being asked. How common were female warriors? What roles did they play? The debate is ongoing, and every new discovery adds to the puzzle. History is not static. It's a conversation between past and present. The female Viking warrior, once myth, is now fact. Her story urges us to question assumptions and embrace complexity. The sagas are echoes of real women finally brought into the light. The quest to understand them has only just begun.